Welcome back to the CNR recap. I'm Griffin Aldrich. Alongside me, we have Daniel, Miguel, and your Boston Celtics have won with a final score of 120 to 106 against the Sacramento Kings. Daniel, it is now um, January 2nd, no longer New Year's Day, but I guess over in Sacramento, it still is New Year's Day. So, what about that? But a New Year's Day victory. Daniel, how are you feeling? And give me your initial thoughts after the Celtics get this win over the Sacramento Kings.
Feeling good about it. Like David said, if you watched last night's recap, or not last night, but 2 nights ago, the last recap of 2025, David mentioned the fact that this was a must-win game against the Kings, a team who is not really doing that good. I don't even know what's going on over there, like in terms of like picks for the future and stuff, just like players in general. So as scrambled as that team is, this was supposed to be a must win for the Celtics. It wasn't as easy as I thought it would be because like at halftime and like in the third quarter, it was really close, closer than I wanted it to be. Even earlier in the first quarter. But that fourth quarter was huge in terms of creating that lead and building up on it. So I'm glad we were able to finish the job in the fourth quarter. Um, but yeah, less a lot closer than I wanted it to be. But I'm glad we ended up getting the win in the end.
Yeah, well said, Daniel. I mean, this game from the get go, I kind of looked at it and the Celtics kind of tend to struggle against bad teams. And I like what Eddie House said, and I agree with this. I feel like the reason for that is because they don't keep their foot on the gas pedal. They go in there thinking that this should be an easy win, but they tend to not keep their foot on the gas pedal. And results, you see the results. I mean, this is a game where you hope to get like a 20-point win out of this, but again, we're not hanging our heads. A win is a win at the end of the day. And whether, it's a good win or a bad win, it's a Celtics win. And that's all that matters. But it was an interesting game, Daniel. Like some interesting thoughts on this one was Jalen Brown ended up fouling out of the game. And, you know, I looked like it looked at times that Anthony Simons was going to take over, but didn't really show that at times, and I'm gonna say a hot take, and a lot of people won't agree with this one, but, this is a team where they're not supposed to be such a hot shooting team, so I didn't see the necessary reason to put Ugo out there, but they were shooting well, and I look at Ugo Gonzalez as a defensive player, so I think, him being put into that situation where the Kings got hot at times, and having him play was very necessary. But do you have anything else to add on to that, Daniel?
Yeah, good rotations by Jonas, like you mentioned just there. Seeing that this team is going crazy from three or just like shooting in general at times, and we need to put in more defensive players and players in and put more effort in defensively. And like you said, we see Hugo. We use Hugo Gonzalez as a defensive player. Don't get me wrong, offensively he's not that bad, but he strives defensively, and that's the role as well. Put him in this game, and I think it was a good decision for him. Same with the way he used Garza and Keita as well. I've been saying this like basically all season almost, but I just like that rotation, the way he uses both of our bigs.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I loved, Garza's contributions tonight. And, we've been so high on the Keita, who, didn't have a terrible game tonight, but not a really ideal game you want. Like, I feel like, the revenge games that you kind of want their team to have, they talked about it on the NBC Sports Boston broadcast, how this was a team that waived Nemias Keita, and he is now starting for the Boston Celtics. So big things there, and you expect big things to happen for Nemias Queta. But again, we saw the other night too with Anthony Simons. He didn't really get things going against the Trailblazers as well. But you said it right there. I mean, Luca Garza, like we've been having conversations about him constantly, how he needs to answer the call and he needs to step up because, his last opportunity, I feel like, was against the Raptors, and he took full advantage of that. Um, but do you have any other thoughts before we start heading into the differentials?
We can get into the differentials.
Yeah, well, let's do that.
That's all.
Yeah, let's do that, Daniel. And I'll say the first one because it blocks it usually. But
Okay.
Daniel, you'll take it over first. We you see that purple kind of shine in the first quarter throughout most of the second quarter, and that's because the Kings took a first quarter lead with a score of 29-28. And Daniel, I'll have you take it over from here.
Yeah, the Celtics in that second quarter actually managed to outscore them back. Celtics ended with 34, and then the Kings with 32. And that's where you see in the third quarter um, us like starting to get the lead again. Because that's when like I guess things changed in the game. But overall, it was still the Kings leading at the end of the third. They scored 27 points compared to the Celtics 26. And then the Celtics in the fourth quarter, as you see by the differentials, just took it over. Like I mentioned at the beginning, way to close out the game. 32 points scored compared to the Kings, um, 18 points. So really big fourth quarter, as you can see, where we got our 14-point lead, biggest lead of the game. So really good win, especially in the fourth quarter for the team.
Yeah, and I want to add on to that. The Kings had an 8 point lead at 1 point two in the game, but for the Celtics tonight, the Celtics had 40 rebounds opposed to the Kings 32 rebounds. And at first, it looked like the Celtics weren't really commanding the rebound battle, but really turned that around. So props to the Celtics, and King shot 40 for 85 tonight from the field goal, and the Boston Celtics shot 44 for 87 tonight. So shooting numbers looked a little bit better tonight for the Boston Celtics. In addition into that, too, 12 turnovers by the Boston Celtics, and by the Kings, 8 turnovers. So the turnover battle, you saw the Kings kind of beat us on that end. But Daniel, I want to ask you another question, and let us know in the comments what you guys believe too. Let us know down below, because this is an interesting one. Do you, because I already mentioned it earlier in this recap, but do you really believe that the cause of, what causes the Celtics to slip up on these must-win games? Because again, not a really slip up, you get a 14-point win, but at the end of the day, they struggled. And I'm going to pull up again, let us know in the comments down below what you guys think. But I'm going to pull this up. You see purple most of the game, and you don't really see green. You see green a little bit in that third quarter, but you really don't see green towards that end, like the beginning of the fourth quarter. And then it just shoots out from there. But what are your thoughts, Daniel, on that?
Yeah, you mentioned it before. It's I think it's mainly just the turnovers and just like sloppy passing, sloppy like ball handling from the guys. But I think it's um secondarily, other than the turnovers, I think it's just missing shots. The amount of shots, especially threes that were missed. I mean, you see White not scoring in the first half where the Kings had that lead and the Kings were going crazy. You see White having 0 points at halftime, and two after the third, but just really bad shooting from us. And I think it's games like these where the other team takes advantage when we don't shoot well, and then they shoot well or better than us at the moment. So I think that's primarily what happened. Turnovers and just the other team capitalizing off of shots we should be making as the Celtics, where 2 years ago, 3 years ago, even last year, we're seen as one of the greatest three point shooting threats in the history of the NBA. And it's games like tonight where you see the opposite. Guys not making the shots, or just shooting horribly in general. So I think those are the two reasons I'd give.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think another addition to that too is, I already said it, but again, downplaying these teams that are less competitive because, you go out there, you're thinking you're going to slam them, and ultimately it was a lot more of a challenge than what we expected because again, Jalen Brown fouled out, and from the game as a whole, I mean, we'll start off with the Kings side. I mean, DeMar DeRozan, who played 35 minutes, had 25 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, and shot 56.3%. I mean, he looked like a glorious prime DeMar DeRozan. Like, that's what you want to see from him. And it's guys like, Precious Achua really stepped up at first in the game and looked like, prime Klay Thompson out there with his threes that he was shooting. But it didn't do a lot, though, only had 14 points. Dennis Schroeder, a familiar face with the Boston Celtics, had 18 points, 7 assists. Keon Ellis had 16 points. Westbrook only had 10 points tonight, and that's really pretty much it from the Kings side of basketball. But, Zach LaVine out, and same with Domantas Sabonis, both out. So those are big hits as well. You really want to see them execute against this Kings team. But again, my head isn't hung. Like, I'm not terribly upset about this. Like, you still got the job done. So, like, if it was a loss, I'm gonna feel a different way. But we still got the job done. Do you
Yeah,
have?
and that's why I thought like it was a must win. Like that's why I thought it was gonna be an easy win overall because they have two of their starters out. So I thought, oh, Sabonis and Levine out, this is gonna be like a good 30-point win. Gonzalez getting a lot of minutes late in the game, Brown sitting in the third or whatever. But that turned out not to be the case because of what you mentioned earlier, just downsizing these teams and letting them take advantage of us. But
Yeah,
that's
yeah. And for the Boston Celtics, this was kind of our little injury report too. Jason Tatum obviously out, as we know. Got the JT shirt on right now, rocking the JT shirt.
yes, sir.
But Max
You
Shaw,
like that?
Amari Williams, and Ron Harper, all three of them, I believe, are in Maine right now. They did not tag along for the West Coast road trip, so they are not with the team as of right now. But Josh Minot, a DNP tonight, which is very interesting what Joe Mazzulla has been doing with his matchups. And Xavier Tillman did not play, and Chris Boucher, coming back after personal reasons, did not play. But it's interesting to see the Josh Minot DNP. And then, I think this kind of answers our question, Daniel, because, you know, Jordan Walsh, he was up, 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 but now he's back. I think he was at a high, he was on fire, but he's crash back down to earth, Daniel, because tonight only played 5 minutes. And, it looks like they kind of picked him up. Like, I mean, 1 rebound, -5 plus minus, only 0 for 1. But, it looks like defenders kind of had to have him scouted out. And it sucks because I love Jordan Walsh and I was so high on his uprise. But now it's like he's crashed back down to earth. I mean, he's got the start the past 2 nights, and it feels like Joe Mazzulla pulls him and doesn't look back for him. What are your thoughts? And do you eventually see Ugo Gonzalez taking these minutes, or what? Because he did. I mean, he got 19 minutes tonight, but do you see him taking over that starting spot? And I mean, we could talk about this more in a podcast about Jordan Walsh, but just what are your first reactions to this? I mean, getting the start in only 5 minutes.
Yeah. You said it well before, where there was a stint where he went like 3 or 4 games of like starting in a row, and he had like I think 20 points in 3 games in a row, or something like that. Where both me and you were just like, oh, like we were starting like MIP conversations and everything. Like we were just big on it, and then now it's like I think it's the main reason is because teams might have figured him out by now, yeah. And also, I think his confidence has kind of gone down. I don't know what the math would be on that or like why that would be, but yeah, I think his confidence has a lot to do with it, and I think it's gone down tremendously at some point. Like there was a shift at some point from him being so high on chemistry and like team chemistry and just being good in general and then going back to low to where he was like last season or whatever. But yeah, we've seen a change in his confidence, I would say, and I think that's what impacts him the most when it comes to these performances.
I agree. I agree. I still see something in the tank with Jordan Walsh. I don't think, this is a guy that we're gonna be like, all right, he did good for a couple games. I think there's still something. I think just Joe Mazzulla needs to play his cards right. And I like the matchups Joe Mazzulla does, and he really makes guys like have to earn their opportunity. Like because you saw it with Garza. I mean, he kind of looked past him, and Garza proved to him why he should be out there. And I'm almost getting the same vibe. Is that's what's end up going to happen with Walsh? I think at some point too. But we'll
I
keep going.
also wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind Gonzalez taking over those minutes as well temporarily for now, just to create some competition as well.
And yeah, I wouldn't mind having Walsh come off the bench in substitution for Gonzalez because I think that's where Walsh more thrives. I think he's more comfortable with that. And, I think he was thriving with those heavy minutes at first, but, he got sick. And ever since that sickness, I mean, hasn't really done much. Hasn't really done much. But Baylor Shireman tonight played 9 minutes, had 3 points, shot 100%, -2 plus minus. But I like what Baylor's been doing. I mean, it's a guy that there's not a lot of sample size, but when he's out there, he's affecting the game. I think tonight was a night he could have. I mean, I said could have shot more shots, but good he didn't because we still got the win. But who knows? Could have made some too. But Hugo Gonzalez, who had a positive plus 20 plus minus, shot 50% and is affecting the game. I mean, in 19 minutes, had 3.6 rebounds, an assist, and a steal. He's been on fire. Anthony Simons, who played 30 minutes tonight, had 14 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, and shot 38.5. I mean, he had a good night. Daniel, I really want Anthony Simons to win a CNR MVP. I'm rooting for him. He's got to win one. He's
It's
got.
gonna happen one day. Like it's gonna be one of those days where like it's gonna be like against the Pelicans or something, like one of those like bad teams where like Brown and White are just like are either out or just like playing bad, and then Simons might have that leap he needs or the leap we need to trust him as the sixth man of this team. But
Yeah,
yeah, I'm really hoping for a lot more from him.
I agree. I agree. Keita, like I mentioned, though, played against the team that waived him and played 23 minutes, had 13 points, 5 rebounds, a steal, and 3 blocks. Shot 83.3 and really got into it with Precious Achua. So props to Keita. We don't have Andrew tonight for the claps, but
Missoula definitely like that. I could tell.
he gets fired up with those scuffs.
Yeah.
He does. And another guy, and I want to give him a little props. I'm not gonna mention him in CNR MVP voting tonight, but Luca Garza tonight I thought played incredible. In 25 minutes had 11 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and shot 83.3% from the field goal. And I'm just very impressed what I'm seeing with Luca Garza coming off the bench, and he's a great backup option. So I love to see that. Peyton Pritchard played 31 minutes tonight, had 16 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists, a steal, a block, shot 46.2%. But we're getting into our CNR MVP voting, Daniel, because I got some names I want to mention, and we'll start off with the honor, first mention, Sam Hauser. I mean, he was efficient. Whenever you needed a three, he gave it to you, and that's what Daniel. You take it away because you mentioned it. That's what you want from Sam Hauser. But explain what you were saying to me because I completely agree with you before we came on here.
Yeah, five threes made tonight, one of them in the fourth quarter. And I think he's one of those guys that, like, with that three in the fourth quarter, helped solidify the lead we needed to get that win. So I think this is kind of the role we were needing from him. We needed from him, like, from last season as well, because he was always meant to be like a bench piece for us, like a seventh man or even an eighth man. And he's supposed to be that guy that comes in, knocks down his threes, goes back to the bench, helps the team offensively and defensively any way he can. And I think that's what he did tonight perfectly. I think him and Simons both filled up that like bench row really well today. And yeah, I like the fact that just those 15 points, 5 threes says a lot about his performance today. So I like that.
Yeah, and you said it, 15 points, 5 rebounds, shot 71.4% from the field goal. I mean, very efficient night from Sam Hauser. But moving up in the list, Jaylen Brown tonight had a double-double, had 5 turnovers, and got fouled out of the game. So not very impressed on that part. But tonight, numbers wise, he looked efficiently on the stat book. I mean, 29 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 40 shot 44% from the field goal, but a negative 2 plus minus. And so let's consider him because Sam Hauser, I don't think did enough. Like he did do enough, but
He
there's
did good for a bench piece, but not for CNR MVP.
MVP.
Yeah.
I don't think he got MVP for this one, but let's look at the turnovers too. Like, I mean, he had no turnovers. Derek White had a turnover, but Derek White tonight, I mean, 35 minutes, had 16 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and shot 38.5% from the field goal. Daniel, take it away. Who are you going for CNR MVP?
Well, like I was talking to you, like I was telling Griffin before we started this, it was gonna be Hauser before the fourth quarter. Like I thought it was just playing amazing for the bench today. I like what I saw from him. But seeing White get those 14 points in the fourth quarter, to help us get that lead and keep that lead going, I think that says a lot about the kind of the leadership we needed from him, from both him and Brown. And you see a game like this where Brown gets fouled out, 5 turnovers. We're in the fourth quarter, like who do we look to? And that person is Derek Wright, and he showed up tonight. Like I said, 14 points in the fourth quarter, and that's gonna be my CNR MVP.
Well said, because Daniel, I'm tagging along with you with this one. I'm going Derek White as well. I mean, tonight he was very efficient, and I believe this is going to be his fourth CNR MVP. So he's off to a roll, but this is the night that you kind of want from Derek White. I mean, we talked about his role and, how he was doing too much at the start, like try to become a superstar player that the team could turn on. But he's playing his game. This is his game. He's a person that lets the scoring come to him. He's not going to take control. He's going to let the scoring come to him, and he's defensively sound. I mean, 2 blocks, 2 steals tonight, getting things done on the defensive side of the ball. But again, coming in clutch when you need him as well. You mentioned had 14 points in that fourth quarter. I mean, very efficient, and he deserves it tonight. So I'm going Derek White for CNR MVP to his fourth CNR MVP of the season, Daniel. So he's running up there. He's coming up, but
He's
uh,
creeping up on Brown. I think
him and Pritchard.
I think Brown has to be on the lookout.
We like, I think we've been hard on Brown though because like he's been doing so good, so we expect him to be at that consistently. But the only like I would vote for Brown tonight, but the only thing that turns me away from him is the 5 turnovers and got fouled out of the game. Like I don't like that. That doesn't look, and this is gonna be a funny take. That doesn't look sexy to me from a score sheet, but also during a game. Like, especially if this game was closer and you get fouled out, that's huge. And the 5 turnovers out of, I think we had 12 turnovers, that's big. So,
Yeah, he had half of those turnovers, so yeah, it's really not a good look on him.
yeah, so that just doesn't, that turns me away. That really turns me away. But before we get into final thoughts, too, I have to say Kawhi Leonard has been on a run, and the only reason I mention
Oh
this
yeah,
is because we face off against the Clippers on Saturday,
he
and
just hit 40 tonight, and which is crazy.
at 45, and the game isn't even over. But
That yeah,
they pulled him because they're up by 16 with a minute eight on the clock. But
he's on a heater recently.
so Daniel, that's a game we gotta watch out for because the Clippers are turning up. They're turning up. But before we
Yeah.
talk about that, because that's gonna be Saturday at 10:30 PM Eastern Time, so you guys think that one was late, this one's gonna be even later, so make sure you tune in then. But Daniel, do you have any final thoughts before we close this out?
Yeah, it's not anything that hasn't been mentioned before. We need to stop um, downplaying these teams, these bad teams, and just um, keep pushing it like it's the NBA Finals. Every game has to be played like it's the NBA Finals. In terms of intensity, in terms of shooting, hustle, offensively and defensively, and I think, like Eddie House said, we've been struggling with that a lot, especially against bad teams that we think we can beat, but then end up surprising us. So I really want to see more on that end, like us just taking care of teams, taking care of business as usual. But yeah, happy with the win.
Yeah, well said, Daniel, and again, late one coming up on Saturday, so make sure if you guys are up, thank you guys who stayed up and watched this. I appreciate you guys staying up here and chatting with us, while we're up so late, but I agree. Gotta get things done against the Clippers. That's a must. I'm not gonna say must win, but we always tend to struggle against the Clippers. Even that season that we won the championship in 2024, I think we had a huge loss against them. I might be uh incorrect on that one, but not correct on that one. But I
I
mean,
feel like I remember that.
I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but we lost by like almost 50, I think.
I
Maybe,
remember that.
maybe it was last year. I don't remember. But Clippers are a team that always is a sneaky team. So gotta watch out for them. And I think that's a big game. And I think that's a game that we can look out for Anthony Simons. I don't know why, but see a big game coming from him. But again, you guys, Celtics win with a final score of 120 to 106. I'm feeling good tonight. Hope you guys are too. But with that being said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications to be notified every time we upload. And again, you guys, drop a like. Thank you guys so much for staying up late, and we will see you guys against the Clippers. Peace, guys.
Peace.